My dad used to have this saying, and I always remember it and I loved it, and it was fear knocked, faith answered, and there was no one there. So the concept is that fear comes knocking on your door, but if you've got faith in the team around you or faith in yourself or confidence in the blueprint that you've got, the playbook that you're running in your business, then that fear will completely dissipate.
If one partner does have fear, and at any given stage, one person might be worried or have fear about taking an action on something where the other one won't. So there's always a nice balance of support that you can draw from there to eliminate that quicker.
Yes, some yin and yang. But what do you do if you're both lacking in confidence at the same time?
If you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind for Business podcast, the podcast for couples who are running the business. So we can show you in about 15 minutes or so every week how you can scale your business without unscaling your relationship. And as always, joining me on the couch is Caroline.
Hi, Mark.
Business partner, life partner, boss.
I was going to say boss, but I thought let you say.
No, I'll
say boss.
Hey, Caroline, one of the things that we see, so we know how to help people scale their business, right? And one of the big things that we look at is how can you create a business which is less reliant on you so that you get that freedom and the reason you started the business in the first place. But we also understand some of the micro dynamics that go on when you're running a business with your significant other, right? Or with a family member, so a couple in business. And one of the things that we see often happening is this inability to scale because of a lack of confidence or a fear and maybe even a lack of accountability or some micromanagement going on.
Yep. I think it's really interesting, always interesting to see because, you see people, they started the business, the confidence is there. There's a couple of roadblocks and, confidence drops a little bit. And then as you keep growing, that confidence increases, but there's always an element of fear. And we've always got to look at how we can overcome that fear at different stages in our business.
So my dad used to have this saying, and I always remember it and I loved it. And it was, fear knocked, faith answered, and there was no one there. So you could run that to fear knocked, confidence answered, and there was no one there. So the concept is that you're looking at me as if to go, what does that mean? But the reality is that the concept is that fear comes knocking on your door. But if you've got faith in the team around you or faith in yourself or confidence in the blueprint that you've got, the playbook that you're running in your business, then that fear will completely dissipate. And I guess when we're talking about fear, that's one of the big things we see is this lack of a blueprint, a lack of a process for people to be able to push that confidence forward.
Yeah, one of the benefits of being a business with, a partner, having a partnership there is if one partner does have fear, and at any given stage, one person might be worried or have fear about taking an action on something where the other one won't. So there's always a nice balance of support that you can draw from there to eliminate that quicker.
Yeah, some yin and yang. But what do you do if you're both lacking in confidence at the same time?
Have a drink?
Yeah, well, there's always that. But I mean, the reality is, I think that's when you go back to basics, isn't it? You go back to, okay, hang on a second. What's our blueprint here?
Definitely.
What's the plan that we have? And one of the things that when we're working with couples in business, one of the very first things we do is we align their vision, right? So that everybody's on the same page. But let's talk about confidence in terms of scaling a business generally. So we're talking about fear. So there's fear of failure, right? But there's also fear of success, isn't there?
Definitely, yep.
And so what we have to do is work out how do we move past this fear? What are some of the things that somebody's listening to the business to this podcast right now and they're sort of going, yeah, I mean, I think my business can grow, but what if it goes wrong? What if it all goes, belly up and I go broke? How do we help them move past that?
If you have got a task and you might be going through a lead generation area of your business, and you're like, I really don't want to do that. I just hate that. Because if this happens, I'm really worried that people aren't going to take my calls. Or there's a fear, there's a reason for the initial fear. But if you sort of stop and look at it and go, okay, the outcome I'm going to achieve is X, which means that if I can shift a small amount of my fear into looking at the benefits of my outcome, then that will make that initial kickstart a lot easier.
Yeah. So we often talk about when we're helping our clients to complete a project or to plan for a project, we often talk about you have to understand the impact and you also have to understand. So there's a big difference in our upcoming intensive with our clients. We get them all together 3 times a year. We're talking about efficiency and effectiveness. And one of the tricks to being both efficient and effective is to make sure that you're doing not just the right things, but the right things at the right time and you're doing them right.
Yep.
Right. And I think that it's about having a blueprint or a plan that you can lean back on. But I also think that concept of having that big picture so you know where you're heading, because one of the things that holds people back is obviously inaction, but there's nothing worse than doing something than that which should not have been done in the first place. Right. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure that what you are doing is in line with the plan. And let's be honest, you know, we can sit here now and say we've done this for 15 years. We've worked together as a couple. We've built a number of businesses and we've been successful, but we've also had our failures as well. Often. In fact, you know, recently we've run some social media campaigns that have been diabolical disaster, haven't worked. We employed a marketing company and spent a shit ton of money and it was a diabolical ripoff. So we make those mistakes. The reason I'm sharing that is that if you're listening to this right now and sort of going, oh, it's easy for you guys because, you know what you're doing or you've got this or you've got that or whatever it might be. It's not true, right? We still make these mistakes. But what keeps us back on track is not the fear that we're going to fail, but the confidence that we're going to recover.
Yeah, and it's the support of each other.
Yep.
For the marketing content that we had, there was a fear that it wasn't going to work. It didn't work. We both regrouped on it, and it was just a matter of uniting together on that. You're not always, like you said, you're not always going to win.
No. But I think the thing about it is that if you've got a fear that something's going to fail, the best thing you can do is to minimize it as best you can. And I think one of the tips to that is to go, all right, what's the worst possible outcome here and can I live with it? And the reality is, and this is not just me saying, this is psychologically proven, you know, somewhere around 80 to 90% of the fears that we have never actually eventuate. So we fear that this is going to be an outcome and it never actually happens. The worst case scenario never actually happens. So if you can work out what the worst case scenario is and you can live with it. So let's talk about, for example, let's just share for a minute, you know, that earlier this year we engaged a marketing company that we thought was going to be a game changer for us. We spent a ton of money with them. It was really, you know, nothing short of a ripoff. But when we went into it, we went, okay, what's the worst case scenario? So the worst case scenario is we tip, you know, X number of $1,000 down the drain. Can we live with that? Yep, we can. Okay, so well then let's give it a run. And all we've done since then is just, I mean, rather than sitting around booing in our beer, or there might have been a little bit of that, but it's just going, okay, well, it's spilt milk. We've got to get on. So what do? We go back to the plan. We're back to the blueprint. Right, what are we trying to achieve?
Basics.
Right, what's the outcome we want? Now, we hoped, I guess it's a little bit like you and I like a driving holiday, right? Oh, I mean, we like to go for a road trip.
Yes.
But if we're planning to go a road trip and you hit a certain area and suddenly the road's flooded, well, you go back and you find another way around it. And it's a similar thing, isn't it? You just find, we went back and
we just
find a way around.
Yeah, found a way around, looked at a different direction. And I think it's interesting because we are a little bit of yin and yang, and a lot of couples in business that I have spoken to, and I always think, oh, you're a bloody shiny toy person. If there's something that looks super exciting, you'll run to it. Whereas I sort of go, hang on a minute, let's just look at all the different dimensions of this shiny toy.
Yep.
What are the risks? What are the benefits and things like that? So I will definitely act a lot slower than you because there's probably a little bit more thought out strategy.
I guess, I mean, I don't want to get too far off the topic that we wanted to talk about today, but I think there's a really important message here. And that is that if you are a couple in business, and honestly, I mean, that's what we specialize in, right? But the theories that we talk about, the concepts we talk about apply to any service business, really.
Yep.
But so without getting too far off topic, I guess the thing is this, that the message that somebody listening to this right now could take away would be that it's okay if you and your partner, you and your business partner, whether they're family or not, you and your business partner, it's okay if you view things differently. It's okay if you've got a different way of achieving things. As long as you have a shared vision, I think shared vision, shared values.
Yeah.
And a really clear shared objective. And I keep saying it, it's a bit hectic now, but a blueprint for how you're going to get there.
Yeah. Because
you are a build it and they will come. I am a get them to come and then we'll build it type of thinker.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works for me. Sometimes it's a diabolical disaster. And then sometimes we can't wait for you to build it because it just takes too long. So we'll just get them to come and then we'll build it.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
One thing you've forgotten there is the why. Always remember the why. And the why is not just about the financial why. The why is about the family why, what you get out of being at work and helping other people all day.
Yep.
And also why do you give other people?
You talk about family, and I think that, the why of what we do for ourselves is probably threefold, right? I think it's for us personally. I think it's for our family so that we can, build a legacy and we can help our family along the way.
Yeah.
But I think it's also for our extended family. And our extended family is the people who work with us and all of our clients. I mean, we got a thing, right? In Mastermind, if you apply to join our Mastermind program, first thing you do is you'll have a chat with Caroline, and Caroline's got a really simple filter, and that is if she figures that we'd invite you around to our house for dinner, then we'll welcome you with open arms into the program. And if she gets the vibe that that's not what we would do, then we'll help you to find someone else to help you. So we see all of our clients as like an extended family, don't we?
There wouldn't be a client that we have ever worked with that I wouldn't have around for dinner.
No, exactly. Well, in fact, we've had some clients around for dinner.
Yeah.
So, and that's very much how we see the world.
Now, if any of our Mastermind tribe are listening and you haven't been around our place for dinner,
yes,
please don't take it personally.
No, just come and grab Caroline at the intensive and go, why haven't you invited me around for dinner? I want to come to your house for dinner, which you're very welcome. Just bring wine. Caroline, let's get back to confidence. What we said here is that what holds people back is fear.
Yes.
What removes that fear is confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in terms of building that confidence, what are some of the things that people can do to build that confidence? We spoke about the shared why.
Yeah. There's clarity. There's a lot of clarity elements in confidence.
Yep.
Be clear of the outcome. Be clear of the roles. Be clear of, the wins along the way.
Yep.
What your plan Bs might be. If you've got clarity on all those sorts of things, I think that will really help
Yep.
get you through.
Yep. Yep. So clarity, understanding your why, really clear vision, shared values, right? I think that's just vitally important. No matter what kind of business you're in, you've got to have the same values. Because we've got business partners in businesses outside of Mastermind. And what helps us to continue to consider them to be friends and not just business partners is the shared values. We have the same. We may not see the world the same, and we've had some reasonable blues.
Interesting conversations.
Yeah, we've had some very forthright conversations, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, we still have the same values. And I think they're the things that you lean back on, right? In those times when you are afraid, when fear is paramount for you, if you can lean back on something that's solid, something that's really, definite or definitive and solid, and it feels good, it's comfortable, and that gets back to those shared visions, shared values, understanding a shared why, etc.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Look, for us, having the value of having a shared calendar might seem only something quite small.
Yep.
But knowing where and when is a good time to get help, get support, share what we need to work on.
Yep.
It's a really, really small part, but has a really big impact on the day-to-day.
And I think the other thing too is if you've got a fear, in terms of businesses where we've got, a number of staff, a number of team members, we'll be careful about what we share in terms of, we don't want them to think that the ship's taking on water. They don't need to know that because we'll plug the hole, right?
That's right.
But we are also vulnerable with them. So if we are a bit fearful of something or we are having an ordinary day on something, it's actually okay. So I guess the other thing is know that it's okay to be vulnerable to a degree with your team as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they may actually have some of the solution to the fear. They might be able to go, I can deal with that.
Yeah, I can take that off your role. I can take that slack for you a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me help you out with that.
I know how to fix that. I guess that's the advantage of a network too. And I don't want to make this episode a shameless plug for Mastermind, but the reality is that's the advantage of a network, isn't it?
Yeah. Having support, being able to give and receive, I think it is vital, but it's reassurance, and it's nice to know that you're talking with people who can help you and who probably have been there before.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's the shared wisdom and the collective momentum put together.
Yeah.
All right. So in this episode, we've chatted about the concept of if you have a certain fear factor, the antidote to that fear is confidence.
Yep.
And how you'd build that confidence is by having a solid plan and having a really clear blueprint. Where do I want to go? Why do I want to go there? And it's just the how that changes, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just, you've, like I said, the flooded road thing, you just pick another route.
Yep. It's always fun. No, it's not really fun. It's always interesting, let's say, to look at and review what your limiting beliefs are with these fears. Why is it that you fear that? What's your limiting belief on why you are not wanting to hook in and get something done?
Yeah.
One of your limiting beliefs, could be, I really don't deserve to be a multi-millionaire. I don't deserve to have that waterfront property or whatever it might be.
Whatever it might be.
But if you can turn your limiting beliefs around just a small bit, you will find that will be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Framing that.
I think there's two things, Caroline. One, everybody that I know has a limiting belief. The most successful people I know, we've got massively successful friends and clients who are making amazing money, got massive businesses. They still have limiting beliefs. But the second thing is, I think that if you want to change that limiting belief, the very easy way to do it is look around and say, is there anybody in the history of business that has achieved what I want to achieve? And if the answer to that is yes, then that means that it is possible.
It's always possible.
Right. I mean, let's say I want to build a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. I don't think I can do that. Has anybody ever done that? Yes. There's like a ton of people who have. Well, therefore it's possible. So unless you're breaking entirely new ground, if you could just look around, scan the horizon and find someone who's done it and go, well, you know what? If they can do it, there's absolutely no reason why I can't. And that's how I think you'll flick the switch on that limiting belief stuff.
Yeah. Interesting challenge for you all out there. Have a look at what you think your limiting beliefs are.
Yep.
And ask your partner what they think your limiting beliefs are, and do things check the other way around as well.
Yeah, like a little swapping exercise. Yeah. Tell me what you think my limiting belief is. I'll tell you what I think your limiting belief is. But you've got to go the next further, right? Because that's focus. Now we've got to go to flow, and that's around, okay, so now what are we going to do to help each other to move past them?
Definitely.
Great advice as always, Caroline. You're always full of brilliant ideas. Hey, if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast player, whatever your Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever it might be, please like it, share it. If you know somebody in business with their significant other you think would benefit from that, please share it. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love to hear more about you. Like it, subscribe, but in the comments, let us know some topics that you'd like to hear Caroline and I talk about. We'd love to hear from you. Until we chat next time. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you.